And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. No one said it was easy to be the boss. Serving as the face of the fire department, managing budgets, navigating political waters, setting the vision and mission for the entire workforce, and ultimately ensuring safety of members and community is no small feat. On today's Open Connection, we meet with the Kitimat Fire Department.
Another capital project that we've taken on is the replacement of an existing live fire burning facility. So basically what that is it's a controlled environment where we do live burns, and it provides training and experience for firefighters to keep their skills up in the sense of live fire scenarios. So yeah, we've had one for many years, a facility here in Kitimat. Unfortunately, those facilities, due to the amount of use and with live fire, they burn themselves out. The steel and the structure itself gets degraded to a point where it's no longer safe to use. So our building has hit that point, so it's now being replaced with a newer system, obviously upgraded, a little bit bigger. Gives us a few more options, a few more opportunities to train in different aspects of the fire service. So we're moving towards having a new facility to not only just for our own departments, but for outside regional departments to come and use as well if need be. So I'm really excited to get this one off the ground as well, in the sense that it's not only is live fire extremely important, because we don't get a lot of fires anymore in the fire service. So to keep our skill and to keep the training up to make sure that fire crews are safe and they know what they're doing when they do enter a building that's on fire, these structures are extremely important to any department within the fire service. So yeah, to have this come in multi-story, kind of state-of-the-art when it comes to newer buildings and newer live fire buildings. Looking forward to seeing this complete as well and get the crews in it and get them training. So we won't put in normal household materials. So what typically we'll burn is just wood. Wood pellets is kind of the go-to. That way we can control the amount of heat, the amount of smoke that we go. The other thing that we're doing with this building is we're also putting in a smoke ejector system, so we can actually put artificial smoke into the building. So what we got to remember is when we're lighting a fire, even when it's in a controlled environment, things can still get extremely vulnerable at times. So we need to have that heat, we need to have that kind of real life training in this aspect of it, but it doesn't need to be all the time. So there's other aspects of what we do when we go into a burning building, and that we don't necessarily need to have the heat and the smoke from a real fire to train on that. And a good example is search and rescue techniques. So we can use artificial smoke and still have the search and rescue techniques being completed properly. And it just reduces that degree of risk on crews. And not only that, but it's also a healthy thing too. It's as soon as you start burning wood, you get that real smoke and flame. And then you were looking at carcinogens, we're looking at just that material getting absorbed into our skins, and this is just a safer way that if we don't need to use live fire, if we don't need to use that heat, that we can go and still get the same training, but with a little bit safer. Every time we expose our gear to that heat and to that smoke, it degrades the gear. And over time, gear's extremely expensive nowadays. So if we can prolong the life of that gear without degrading it, then that's the other aspect of this too. The old structures, I'm going to say it was at least 25 years old. Again, been here 20 years. It was here before me. So yeah, it's up there. It's made its life. It's done us very well. It was a regional training facility at one time, so it had a ton of use. So it was just time. It burned out. Yeah, absolutely. So the training ground itself, we do have dumpster fire props. We have vehicle fire props, propane fire props. And then we do have the space that needed to do auto extrication. We have a rail car there that we also do leaks from as well. So yeah, it's kind of a full-blown training facility that gets utilized quite often.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. After the Vancouver Canucks lost Game 7 in the 1994 Stanley Cup Final, a riot erupted in the streets of downtown Vancouver. The Vancouver Police Department's radio system wasn't able to handle the increase in radio traffic as police officers, firefighters, and paramedics responded to the chaos. In addition, the agencies couldn't communicate with each other to coordinate their response as they were on different radio systems. Let us return to the conversation with the Kitimat Fire Chief.
One of the capital projects that we've finally got off the ground this year, 2021, is communications upgrade for the entire district of Kitimat as a whole. So when I say district of Kitimat, that's all the departments working within the operations of the district. So it's not just focused on fire. Although at the beginning of identifying our concerns and our issues with radio communications within the district, it initially just started with the fire service, with the fire department, and we were looking at ways that we can fix these areas within and around town that we have either really poor communications with our two-way radios, or in some cases no radio communications whatsoever. So this kind of initiative started with me about 2 years ago, and it's I think everybody can appreciate the amount of moving parts within a system like this. So we're not just looking at, how firefighters talk to one another on an emergency scene, but how we talk to dispatch back in Prince George, how we talk to other departments outside of the community, how we talk to other trucks and other proponents or industry, and there's so many moving parts to this. So like I said, it's taken about 2 years to get to this level where we've actually we've awarded the RFP to start the process of upgrading the system to really alleviate these safety concerns that we have as a fire service, but also other departments have in the sense of lack of communications within the organization when it comes to two-way radios. So the other kind of aspect of this is we're stepping away from the tradition of we're stepping away from the traditional aspect of two-way communications, which is, I guess, in a sense, if it's an antiquated analog system is what we're still using. It's a VHF, and this is, I guess, lingo in the radio world. I'm no expert at all on it, it's just going through. So we're moving away from that antiquated analog system to a more robust, higher frequency, so a UHF frequency and a digital system. But the kind of the key with this, it also allows us to bring in other working components of a system, so data, cell, so all of that can be interconnected now. So when we when we originally looked at it, it was just truly for the fire department itself, and then we built it out into this, district-wide multi-system radio communications upgrade that really is going to benefit not just the fire service but the entire district as a whole. So each department's going to have kind of their own little radio world now, in the sense of who they talk to and the talk groups that they can bring into there and that we can add and take away. And it's really an elaborate system that super excited to get it off the ground and get some of these concerns that we have as a fire service and as district kind of fixed and rectified. So, oh goodness, it's well beyond my years. So I'm pushing closer to 20 some years here at the district, and it's the same system has been in place. There hasn't been any real upgrades to it. There hasn't been any improvements per se in respect to the system as a whole. So of course, when it comes to radios and two-way radios, we purchase new radios every few years. So the equipment itself is new. It's just the system, it's the body, it's the working components of the system that are old, and it's due for an upgrade. And the other aspect that I didn't mention, but right now with the old analog system, in the sense of how the radios work, we have one tower that the antenna sits on. With the new system, we're moving to a two-tower system, so both those towers are located in opposite ends of the community, and they can talk to one another. So we're running into these, what we're calling shadow areas, or areas where there's really poor reception. What the idea is if one tower's not getting a very good reception or is not getting very good coverage, the other tower will build off of that, and we're hoping all the studies are showing that 90 to 95% of our radio shadow areas will be removed or eliminated. So, and the other aspect of the older system, the penetration into buildings, the penetration of that signal into concrete and steel buildings is difficult. With the new higher frequency, that frequency penetrates those buildings. So when fire crews go into a building, we'll have that communication with them regardless of the type of building, of the construction of the building. So it can be steel, it can be concrete or wood, doesn't really matter. We'll still have that communication. So, which is extremely key in the fire service, is when you send crews inside that structure, that we have that clear and concise communication with those crews inside, so we know what's going on. So.
Will that require you guys to get new equipment in the trucks and like the handheld devices themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So each truck will be outfitted with new radios. Each member will be outfitted with a new radio, as well as Public Works departments, Leisure Service Department, Engineering Department. They'll all have new radios as well. So it's basically out with the old and in with the new, in the sense of equipment and actual, the actual physical aspect of the communications itself too is all new. It's all the scanner world won't be able to follow us around, won't be able to hear what's going on. So it really improves on privacy aspects of who we're picking up in the ambulances or who we're going to and which house we're going to for what reasons. So it improves, like I said, when you look at it as an organization, it improves in all areas of where we are currently today, where we're going to.
What is the anticipated completion date? Like when this thing goes active, when do you figure it's going to happen?
So provided everything stays on schedule, but obviously with projects like these, with the amount of moving parts and how many people are involved, we're expecting some delays, but we are hoping by the end of fourth quarter, so the end of December this year, it'll be finalized and everything will be up and running.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. In Pittsburgh in 1820, Maria Betts made history serving as the first woman volunteer firefighter for the city. Betts said to have never missed an alarm during her 10 years of service and was remembered for pouring buckets of water over male bystanders who refused to help put out the fire. Let us return to the conversation with Samantha Froome.
I was the first paid or career firefighter, female firefighter in northern BC. And then as far as I know, our next female, Brooke Weiser, was the next career firefighter for northern BC. There have been others down south in the past. My family, both my parents are paramedics. So I originally wanted to do that and I pursued that first. I got my PCP license in 2012, and I worked part-time for BC Ambulance in northern BC, as well as industrial ambulance in northern BC, where I met industrial firefighters. Got me interested in firefighting just through conversation. Seemed more like the career I was looking for with the team-based setup, and so I, on a whim, applied for the full program down in College Station, Texas. I went to TEEX for 3 months. Did their full program, came back. I'm originally from Vancouver Island, signed up with my local volunteer fire department, and then started applying out to the different career fire departments in BC. Did a few tryouts, came up to Kitimat, it was a fit, and I've been here ever since and loving it. So for my paramedic, it was 3 months, 3 to 4 months in a classroom setting. And then you go on car with BC Ambulance's assigned preceptors to do practicum. And then you have to get licensed, so that was almost close to a year. And then Texas was 3 months of full-time Monday to Friday schooling. And then I was signed off for my NFPA 1001 certification. You can also do it as a part-time, which is all online, and then you just go to wherever different colleges offer the program. You go down to that college and do the skills for 3 weeks. So there's 2 different avenues. We do more paramedic work here. We're a very busy station for our little area, but I love the fire side. It's so dynamic. It's challenging both mentally and physically, which is why I love it so much.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Kitimat Fire and Ambulance Service has a diverse complement of 24 firefighters, 3 chief officers, and 1 administrative clerk. The department responds to about 2,100 calls per year. Core services include fire, rescue, and paramedic duties, along with fire prevention and education. In this final segment of Open Connection, Kitimat firefighter Samantha Froome shares why she loves her job.
Definitely, fire and ambulance go together. We help each other, whether we're in the same department or not. We go to the same calls. Sometimes the call is more medical based and fire's backing the paramedics, or the role can be reversed if it's a structural fire or a vehicle fire or a vehicle entrapment where the fire is needed first, then the medical will come in and help. We've only done a handful of hiring since my hiring and Brooke's, so I can't say if I've noticed like an influx of female. I think there is definitely room for more females to apply. It is male dominated. I come from a line of work where I seem to choose those careers where it's male dominated, and it fits well with me, but it's definitely something that females can do. Like both paramedic and fire, you're driven by the need to want to help people. So if that's up your alley, then both disciplines I would say go for. If you like that physical activity, fire for sure. You get to keep in shape. You get to use all sorts of really cool heavy tools, breaking things apart. Definitely a lot of volunteer fire departments are suffering from staffing shortages. So it's very important for people, local residents, to apply, at least try it, see if it works for you. It can seem intimidating. We do what other people don't do. We run into the fire, not out of it. So once you get used to that mindset, it's so rewarding. With the fire service, you can apply out to other career departments, but it doesn't lateral over. You start back at the bottom of the totem pole is what we call it, and then gain your seniority again. The only area that you can apply out and leave the union is chief positions, and some training officer positions are staff. And then you just look for postings, you make sure that you do the training, get the courses to make sure that you're qualified for them. And here we use JIBC's fire programs to make sure that we have all of our fire officer certificates. And so chief isn't for everybody. Some people spend their whole career all the way up to captaincy, staying within the union, or they want the challenge of chief and either stay with their department if an opening happens or apply out. So with the paramedic license, that's specific to a province, but you can take a licensing exam to see if you qualify for another province's paramedic license. But the NFPA, NFPA 1001 is universal across North America, so that I can apply for any fire position in Canada or the US. Each department has their own certain qualifications depending on the need of that department. Some are swift water, some are more into structural protection, those kind of things. So you got to make sure that you meet the qualifications, and you'll find all those out in their hiring process. It's not very often, at least from my experience, I don't see a lot of movement. Once you find a department, you kind of stay. Lower Mainland's a little bit different because they have more stations, so you're not leaving Vancouver Fire, you're just moving from Station 2, which might be it is a very high call volume station, so they don't want to keep people there for too long because of burnout, and they'll move you to a more quiet station. So you're getting some movement there, but unlike here, we're one station, so we spend our career here. We don't see it too much here in Kitimat. We're kind of the end of the road, but if we go just 40 minutes down the road to Terrace, it's still a real problem there. They have a heavier homeless population, which are those are the ones mostly affected by the opioid crisis. So we do see it because we, as the ambulance service, we back Terrace's ambulance when they are overwhelmed or understaffed. We take a car to Terrace and cover that area. It's just the usual gloves for sure. We don't touch anything that we don't need to. So we're here to help people. Anything drug paraphernalia, we don't need to know. We just need to know what you took. We don't need to touch it. So we try and minimize risk that way. And then with COVID, we've obviously upped our PPE standards, and certain calls dictate gown, gloves, N95 mask or half-face respirator, and a face shield. What I love the most about my job is the people I work with. That makes the job, and I think that's the same for any job. We have a really solid team here. We have 4 shifts, and because we are a smaller department, we have to move personnel around to certain shifts sometimes, and so we all mesh really well. And probably the thing I don't like would have to be that you do see some unpleasant things. You're not always called there for the happiest moments of people's lives, so you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and watching your co-workers to make sure that they're not showing signs of any PTSD or anxiety or stress.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.